It's a big question. See, we are all in this profession, you're all in this profession of medicine, and you all are really doing wonderful work. In fact, before I go into this subject, I should thank the fraternity of doctors who have really done such amazing work in this pandemic. Salutations to the entire fraternity of the medical field. But to that, what really I want to keep before all of you is, you might have just noted about what this person is saying. This materialistic way of life, this materialistic way of looking at the human being. If you just look into the philosophies existing in the world, basically, in a very sweeping way, we can say that there are two ways or the two views in which we can look at this world, or two ways in which we can understand the human being. One is the material view of the human being. The other is the spiritual view of the human being. Well, the West has been the center from where the materialistic view of the world, the materialistic view of the human being has always come forth and dominated the world, especially in the modern times. It is the West's materialistic perspective which is actually dominating and which is governing the entire human race in one direction. And opposed to this is the Indian view, the Bharatiya view, mainly the Vedic view, which presents to the entire human race the spiritual side of the human being, the spiritual side of the human personality. The materialistic view says that this body, the human being is this body and body alone. It doesn't understand anything beyond the body. And its whole value system is based upon this body idea of the human being. And that is what leads into this so-called materialistic way of life, where then money alone becomes the main concern of the human life. And you know, it's a chain reaction. Then if money is the main concern of the human being, then everything follows one after the other. And it takes the human life in one direction. Now, the great sages of this country, let me start with Vivekananda himself, as I represent that the greatest teacher of spirituality of the modern time, Swami Vivekananda, and the great rishis of this country, what they have stated about this. One very beautiful statement comes in one of the Upanishads, where it is stated in Sanskrit. I just repeat that Sanskrit verse. It's very beautiful to even hear. So it says, Yada charmavat akasham veshtayishyanti manavaha tada daivam avigyaya dukkhasyanto na bhavishyati. It says, what is the meaning of this? It's a beautiful verse. It says that you can conquer this external world with your physical sciences, which we are doing, with the understanding that the human being is the body and body alone, and this world which we are seeing through our sensory system, this is the only thing. If we have this kind of an ideology before us, and if this view is guiding us in our life in a certain direction, this verse says, you may conquer this external space with your physical sciences and technology. You see all the comforts and the coziness which all our technological advancements has given to us. With all said and all that, this verse says, Tada daivam avigyaya. Without knowing the true nature of this human being, without knowing who I am in my true nature, who am I? Tada daivam avigyaya dukkhasya anto na bhavishyati. There is never going to be an end to human suffering. This is the simple fact of the modern human race. With all the developments, boasted advancements which we have made in the last few centuries, wonderful. That is the gift of divinity given to man and man alone. Man alone can change the society in this way. But this is completely a one lopsided development which we see. The other side, which has to balance this kind of a change which we have brought about, that balancing factor is the spirituality element, which we have to bring into human life. Who am I? Just like in Ghosh's piece of writing, he mentions the main problem is with this I, and he has referred to this minimalistic lifestyle. What is this minimalistic lifestyle? Beautiful things he has referred to. He says, Swami Vivekananda says in the West, the main concern is how much more we can have of physical things. More and more, more and more, more and more. And in India, our rishis and munis, the competition is just on the other side. How much less I can have. And with the minimum, I learn to be happy. This is another very important point which we need to remember. Happiness has got nothing to do with money. It will be very difficult to digest this idea, but better you just listen to it. This is the verdict of the great rishis. Happiness has got nothing to do with money. It's a state of mind. Money cannot touch the human mind. Yes, money can give us this air-conditioned room, which makes me very comfortable here on the physical plane. That's all. It can give you a very cozy bed, but it cannot give you sleep. It's completely mental and that which is beyond the human mind. Happiness has got nothing to do with money in a truest sense. So that happiness which we are in search of, it comes from the spiritual dimension of the human personality. So one of our very great sadhus of Ramakrishna order, Swami Ranganathanandaji Maharaj, who was the 13th president of the Ramakrishna order, a very great soul, you might have heard his name. He used to often say this, I'm reminded of that here. He used to say that all the best things of life comes from the non-physical dimension of the human personality. It is worth noting. He used to say, all the best things we are seeking in life, it comes from the non-physical dimension of human personality, and never from the physical dimension. Best things, what are we seeking? The best things? Happiness, love, friendship, feeling for others, the attitude of service. Now, here comes the great value systems. All these values come from the spiritual dimension of the human personality. So this is what actually I wanted to keep before all of you, that even in this profession, we should not let this profession be just a means to earn something for my own self. We can turn this profession into a means to bring real, lasting happiness into our lives. And that can be done when we change our attitude towards what we are doing. And that change in the attitude is the attitude of seva. It is the seva which actually completely changes the quality of human life. I'll give you one small example about what we ourselves are doing in Advaita Ashram, because instead of talking about philosophy is very easy, but what we are doing. In Advaita Ashram, in Mayavati, we have our real Advaita Ashrama is in the Himalayas. It's close to Almora. If you all come there someday, you can see. There in Advaita Ashrama, this center was started in 1899, for your information. It's more than 120 years old center. The center was started by Swami Vivekananda himself in 1899. And we have an hospital there in Advaita Ashram. This hospital, this medical facility was started in a very small way in 1903. It's more than now 118 years. It started in a very small way, but today it's quite a big, a hospital of a considerable size. Now, this hospital, in that entire Champavat and Pithoragarh district, in a radius of 80 to 100 kilometers, which is actually inhabited by poor villages, mountain people, Pahadis, as we say, For the last 100 years, there has been very, very few medical facilities available in this region. And it is this Advaita Ashrama's hospital which has been rendering seva to all of them. So all these Mahadi's poor people, they come to our hospital there, and in our hospital, entire treatment, everything is given free of cost. Even today it is going on. Now, why I'm referring to this point is that, you see, hospitals can be run. Yes, we need money, definitely. It can be turned into a big business. And the opposite extreme of that is we can turn a hospital into a place of absolute service to humanity, service to the poor people. Well, you may say that in today's modern world, it will be difficult for a hospital to run without money involved in it. I understand that. But at least in whichever institution we are working, in our own personal level, I feel that we can bring about a change in the attitude, in the way we are actually doing our profession. That change in the attitude is the change of our mindset, the way we look at the patients, the way we look at the poor people coming to us. And the main center is, money is not the main thing. The main concern should be seva, service. And in this one thing, small thing I would say, and I'll just wind up my talk, and that attitude is, Vivekananda's Guru Sri Ramakrishna had given a great teaching, a great utterance. That is, Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva. That is, serving human beings, seeing God residing in them. Now, this is a very big thing, We, maybe many of you may not be believing in God or whatever it is, Bhagwan, but one thing is undeniable, dear brothers and sisters, and that is, in the heart of all of us, there is a divine center. And to understand and experience this divine center is the main purpose of human life. Unless we turn our attention towards this center, no matter what we do on the surface, human life is bound to remain incomplete. It is bound to remain truncated. All fulfillment, as I said, the best things of human life comes from this non-physical dimension of the human personality, this divine center which is inside each one of us. This is the glory of the human being. And there are ways to approach this divinity. That is what is actually the real meaning of yoga, the great word. And Bharat is the land where this entire system and the structure of the yogic way of life was discovered, and the world is thirsting for it. Just as I said, this gentleman from Germany, he says, in my society, the adolescents, they are in panic, they are in fear, they are in depression. They don't even know that they have a soul. Just imagine. And do you think the condition in India is different? Our own brothers and sisters, our children, they have no idea about this. To bring this dimension into the society, Vivekananda had come. And all the great teachers, they had come. So I just want to mainly keep before all of you this idea that this is a great opportunity. In fact, many times it came to my mind also. Had I not been a monk, I would have definitely tried to be a doctor. This I say because when I see doctors, what great thing doctors can do. Somebody comes with pain, suffering, and the doctors, with their skill in their hands, they relieve the patients from that pain which that person is suffering from. What a great service it is. If the money factor should not come and spoil the whole thing. When the money factor comes, the whole thing is spoiled. You just remove that money factor and then relieve that person's pain just out of humanistic consideration, or you go one step beyond that out of divine consideration. That's the excellent way in which a doctor can conduct himself for his own spiritual well-being and for the good of the entire society. Thank you.